that men are not trash. But I know to most, if not all of you, that is not a surprising statement. You probably agree with me because my channel has attracted a group of us on the internet who are more traditional, pro-femininity, pro-masculinity, etc.
Women, they're resenting men for wanting to provide for the family. It's truly unbelievable, and women are trying to compete with men, and it's so unnecessary.
Now, tell me what you do for a living.
Oh, I love my husband.
Hi. What I wanted to talk about is, you hear a lot of, like, in the manosphere, in the red pill community, in the Christian sort of conservative community, a lot about how, the traditional woman, is like better, you know, to have relationships with, or like, women who are traditional that want to be, a homemaker or a stay-at-home mum, that they're more caring towards their husbands, and that they make better partners than, say, like a woman who has a career or something. Okay, and I wanted to talk about this because, like, I find it kind of interesting, people's different kind of point of views here. Okay, because because for one thing, like as I have said in previous videos, a lot of women need to work nowadays, okay? The economy has changed that, like, most families can't rely on just one wage, so women, so they do need, like, 2 wages, okay? But also, some of these people that, like, sort of go on about how, you know, if a woman's at home, she's a good woman. If she's at work, she's not such a good woman. It's like they're trying to speak on behalf of all men. Okay, like Pearl Davis does this quite a lot, and with a lot of different things. Like she says, modern Western women are not very good because most are not virgins when they're married. Okay, and it's like, well, have you asked all men whether most of them would like a virgin? I mean, not so many people are religious nowadays, and that is why most people used to wait until they were married, you know, before consummating the relationship, okay? And she says stuff like, oh, women used to have, like, about 10 kids, but they don't anymore.
You could be, of course, married without having kids.
Well, there would be kids right away because I would ban birth control too.
All forms of birth control, not like
gone.
the coil without hormones.
Yeah, gone.
So if we're in a way forcing people to have kids that don't want to have kids, are those kids going to grow up happy?
I wouldn't say forcing.
Well, you're saying you should be in a marriage. If you're in a marriage, you should be having sex. It's your duty.
Yep.
But you can't do anything to stop yourself from getting pregnant.
You're going to end up with like 10 kids.
I grew up with a family of 10. It was amazing.
I'm not sure how good that would be for society if a lot of people that didn't want children had children.
Well,
can you not see how there might be a lot of complications?
Well, I mean, 150 years ago, they had on average 7 kids. Nobody was crying about it. No one was dying. It was, you know.
And again, it's like, have you asked men, like, whether most of them would want 10 children? Because I'm willing to bet that most of them wouldn't, okay? Because, well, most people don't. But also, specifically as well, seeing as that Pearl seems to think that the man should be the provider and the woman should stay in the home, like, do you not think that that would be extremely hard for a man to, like, provide for his family, like, when they've got, like, 10 kids? If the man was the sole provider for the family, like, even if it was just, like, you know, 2 or 3 children, it's going to be difficult, okay, if he's the only one bringing in an income. But, like, I mean, most men are not going to want to provide for, like, 10 children. Now, I understand that Pearl, she comes from a big family. I think she has, like, 9 siblings, and that's great if that's what both of her parents wanted. But also bear in mind that her parents are multi-millionaires, okay? So that is a little bit different, okay?
Single man, no kids over 30. Married man.
Yep.
No
Been in a
kids.
relationship
So
for 10
we-
years.
you know-
We don't want children.
Yep.
Now, whenever I'm asked why I don't want children, which is quite rare, but Hannah, she gets asked all the damn time because, you know, she's a woman. That's the way it works with our culture. It's
Societal
the way it works.
expectations.
Yeah, whenever I'm asked why I don't want children, which is an odd question in itself. It's like asking, why did you have children? It's a little bit invasive. They tend to get upset with any reason that you give.
Right.
So a lot of the time when like these people in the red pill, they keep saying like, oh, that women should be in the home, men should be the provider, we should go back to traditionalism, and then talk like as if a woman like having women that work are like bad women. It's like they're trying to speak on behalf of all men. Okay, like not every man wants a woman to be a stay-at-home mum. Some do. Some would like the woman to be the traditional woman who's the homemaker, who stays at home, is a stay-at-home mum while he's the provider, and that's fair enough. And some women want that, but then some men don't want that, okay? But when they sort of like talk as if a woman's a bad woman for working, they talk, or at least she's not as caring towards her husband for working. It's like they're speaking for all men. It's like not every man wants the same thing. Men are individual people, and women are individual people. Okay. Also, I kind of think the slight elephant in the room when you talk about like the traditional gender roles, and you talk about the man meant to be the provider, the woman supposed to be at home. The kind of elephant, what I think is an elephant in the room, that like I don't think I have ever heard any of them talk about this, the traditionalists. I don't think I've heard any of them talk about this, and that is that like if a woman is going to be a stay-at-home mum, she is going to need a man who is a high earner, okay? She's going to need a man who's got a really good job, who brings in a very good income, so that she can afford to stay at home, okay? And, like, the majority of men, well, they're not super high earners, okay? So, I find it kind of interesting how it's a case that people label the women who are willing to work and provide for the family as well as the ones that are somehow neglecting their husbands and not as caring as the women who want to stay at home. I find that interesting because, like, I think you need to ask the question a little bit. Some of these women that want to be stay-at-home mums, like, would they be with a man who didn't have a good job, who wasn't a high earner, like, and if they had to work as well, like, would they be with him? And I'm not saying that all of the, like, women that are, like, stay-at-home mums, like, oh, they wouldn't be with their husband if they wouldn't have got with their husband if he wasn't a high earner. I'm not saying that. But you have to ask the question, like, with some of them, okay? And, like, it's kind of interesting, like, how if a woman says, like, oh, she doesn't care how much money a man makes, because, you know, she's willing to work as well, how she's somehow considered to be, like, oh, well, you're not as caring for your man because, you know, you're out working instead of being at home, you know, making the house all, like, immaculate while he's at work. And
women, they're resenting men for wanting to provide for the family. It's truly unbelievable. And
it's like, well, depending on the person, like, I mean, some you know, people who if they specifically want to be a stay-at-home mum, they might be specifically looking for men that are high earners so that they can stay at home and might not be with a guy who doesn't earn that much. Well, the woman who doesn't care so much about what the guy earns, it's like kind of interesting how she's like being portrayed as, oh, you're not so caring to men because you're going to be working. Okay.
So if you think about it, like, you want a lawyer, right? So then you should be a paralegal, or if you want a dentist, then you should be a dental hygienist. But these are considered, I guess, high value status professions. But I think that's a really, I promise the men are not evil. The thing is, though, is that most men can't do for you what my husband does for me, right? But if you want to find somebody who does that, let me know.
Okay, Allie, they said being afraid is a valid fear. I was a stay-at-home mom, and after divorce, I got nothing. It's the scariest thing.
Yeah, but if you choose to live in fear, you're constantly living in scarcity. And so, you know, I would challenge you. If you got divorced and you got nothing, why not try again at romance and try and see if you can do better? That's better than being alone.
It's also interesting how, like, if a man works long hours, say, like, he works overtime, he works weekends sometimes, it's seen as, well, he's doing that for his family. is working hard because he's a good provider, okay? But if a woman does that, then it's seen as like, oh, well, she's selfish, she's putting her career before her family. And it's like, well, if the wife's working, is she not providing for the family as well? And I understand, okay, it's because some people, you know, they like the traditional gender roles, and that's fair enough. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But it's still a case of, like, whether it's the man or woman working, they are both providing for the family. Now, I get that there's going to be some people who are workaholics that might, like, spend too much time at work when actually they should take some more time off because, you know, they should spend quality time with their family rather than at work. There's going to be some people like that, okay? But I don't think that's the majority of people, okay? There may be some men who are in, like, a stressful job that they hate, and that they might rather, like, have, like, an easier, less stressful job, but they don't take it because the stressful job that they don't like is, you know, higher paid, okay, and they want to, again, provide for their family, okay. So, again, this is why I question a little bit this sort of idea that, like, oh, if the woman wants to work, or if the woman has a career, that she's being unfair to her husband, while the stay-at-home mum is always the one that's the best, okay. I question that because it might be a case that the man is under more pressure to keep a stressful job because he's the sole provider, okay? And I find it really interesting as well, this, like, she calls herself Real Femme Sapien, okay? When she was asked, like, oh, what do you do for an occupation? She replies by saying, I love my husband, okay?
Oh, here. Now, tell me what you do for a living.
Oh, I love my husband.
And that's kind of a funny answer, isn't it? Because the question wasn't, what are your feelings for your husband? The question was, what do you do for a living? Okay, what do you do as your occupation? Okay, so, like, for her to, like, not answer that, but to answer, oh, I love my husband, this is, like, clearly her trying to say, like, oh, I'm better than other women because I'm at home. I love my husband more. A woman who's working is somehow, what, not loving her husband? Like, I mean, I would hope that, like, anybody who is married loves their partner. Anybody who's in a happy marriage loves their partner. That should be a given. Like, she could have said, oh, you know, I'm a stay-at-home mum, or I'm a homemaker, or whatever. But to sort of answer the question, like, I love my husband, it's like implying that other women, like, if they go to work, oh, they don't love their husband, okay? Well, women who work, like, one, they might have to, because, you know, they might need, like, 2 wages, okay? But also, like, the working woman, she might not actually care, like, how much the husband earns, or, you know, if she gets a promotion or whatever and she earns more, she might be happy with that, okay? And her husband might be happy as well, you know? It's like, once again, they don't speak for all men, okay? Also, a lot of these sort of people that promote the sort of traditional gender roles, they don't take into consideration that people's circumstances change, okay? I've said this before, right, about how when people sort of think that the woman should always be at home looking after the kids, it's like they forget that children grow up, right? Like, they think, like, a marriage consists of a husband, wife, like, 2.3 children, and the children just stay as little kids forever. It's like, no, they grow, okay? Like, if you've got a baby or toddlers, it's like, yes, they need constant supervision, all right? But then when the children get older and they go to school, you know, the mother, she's at home when the children are at school, so she doesn't have as much to do if there's not children for her to watch then, okay? And then when they get older and they become teenagers, they don't need round-the-clock supervision. So this is why then a lot of women will be working. Now, some women, they work part-time, so they work while the children are at school, and then they they have time to pick the kids up when the kids finish school, and, like, you know, then they can cook the tea and do the housework and all that before the husband comes home. Okay, so some women do that, they work part-time. But then also nowadays some women, they have you know, careers, and they have children as well, because, like, you know, when kids get older, they don't need, like, the parents to watch them all the time, okay? Or, like, you know, men and women, if they're both working, they both sort of, like, one might have a day off and look after the children while the other's at work, or, you know, whatever, but circumstances change, okay? So, say, like, hypothetically, like, say a man and woman get married and they both work, but then when they have kids, the woman might give up work to look after the children, okay? But when they get older, she might get a job, and then she might get promoted, and she might be earning more. But then also a man who, like, if the husband, if he has a good job, he might get made redundant, okay? Because that happens to people. You know, most people at some point or another experience, like, redundancy or something like that, or being demoted or something like that, okay? So if a guy is a high earner, he might not stay a high earner, like, all the time. He might lose his job, he might be out of work for a while, and then the woman might be the main breadwinner. But then give it a few more years, and then he might have another job, and then he might start earning a lot more, and then the woman might get made redundant. You know, like, the point I'm getting at is people's circumstances don't stay the same, okay? Like, if a couple get married, say, like, when they're young, and, you know, throughout, and say, assuming that they stay married till they're old and they don't get divorced, throughout their lifetime, their circumstances are always going to change, okay? It's not a case that the man will always have a good job. It's not a case that the woman's going to always have little children to look after, okay? And women have dreams of their own as well, like, you know, women have career interests, or, like, it wouldn't necessarily be fair for the woman to just, like, be at home all the time. Like, if the kids have, like, now grown up and they've left home, like why should the woman be at home? Like, then surely she should be working at that stage. Well, I'm saying that, but it's not my business how other people's marriages are, but I'm just talking about, like, as a generalization, okay? The idea that most women, like, should be at home, it's like, it depends on people's circumstances, okay? And it depends on what people want. Some people like the traditional gender roles, some people don't. Some men want a traditional woman, some don't, okay? They're not all the same. The other thing that I wanted to point out is for people that are always saying that, oh, men want traditional women, and women that aren't traditional, you know, they're not treating men right. For people who have that attitude, I want to point out as well, like, when I very first came across the manosphere, what I first came across was the MGTOW content. That's men going their own way, okay? That's what when I first started this YouTube channel, that's what I used to criticise, okay? Not their lifestyle choice, but their opinions on women, okay? And one of the opinions that the major MGTOW content creators used to have back then was that they specifically didn't like traditional women, and they didn't like, you know, women being at home because they saw it as that the woman was parasiting off the husband, okay? They saw it as, like, the man bringing in the income was the only worth. Like, they completely disregard the fact that the woman is the one who gives birth to the children, and the woman's the one who does most of the childcare and the housework. They completely disregard that as a worth, and would say that because the man is earning money and, like, paying for the woman and providing for the family, that the woman is just a parasite, and that throughout history, traditional relationships are basically just women parasiting off their husband, okay? This is the opinion that MGTOW used to come out with.
Listen up, guys, and listen good. There is no nice way to say this, but if you honestly believe housewives or stay-at-home mothers are useful or necessary in this day and age, then you are a fucking stooge. You are a sucker. You have been sold a lemon. You've been duped. You've been lied to. You've been hoodwinked. You've bought the baloney hook, line, and sinker. The supposed need for housewives is a straight up fucking scam. And that is not a metaphor. It is actually a legitimate scam. You are being ripped off. You are working 51 hours a week and still ending up with less money in your pocket than if you were working half that time. And now you're trying to sell other men on the same bullshit traditionalist pyramid scheme that you've bought into? Stop it. Just stop. Your housewife scam is as obvious to me as emails about a Nigerian princess. You know where that kind of crap ultimately leads you? Supporting a wife, particularly a stay-at-home wife, is a bad fucking choice. As a man, it is just about the worst decision you could ever make. You are quite literally flushing your quality of life right down the toilet. A stay-at-home wife will contribute virtually nothing on top of what you are already doing as a bachelor, and half of your resources, half of the grueling hours you have to work each week, will be spent supporting her lazy, entitled ass. I am so goddamn sick of stupid, trad-cuck fraud victims trying to sell me the line that women aren't your enemy, we all just need to work together. Fuck that. Nowhere along this entire spectrum are men and women ever equal partners. At every stage, marriage is a one-way relationship of domestic parasitism. At one end of the spectrum, you have men working 51 hours a week to support the family. And his wife's contribution? Provided she's not just reheating leftovers that night, she might spend an hour or two tops putting some chicken in the oven and throwing a few clothes in the automated washing machine. Basic domestic duties that I easily perform on top of my 40-hour work week now.
Okay, that is some of the stuff that I used to listen to when I first came across the manosphere.
It's 7 years ago. My time machine works.
I'm pointing this out because, some women seem to, have this opinion that, just telling men that I'm a traditional woman, I don't want a career, I just want to stay at home and look after the kids and make you sandwiches and make your tea and have your tea on the table. They seem to think that that's what every single man wants to hear, and it's not. Now, I'm not agreeing with people that, this is very angry people that will refer to women as parasites, okay? I think how people have their marriage or their relationships is their business. If a couple come to the conclusion that they would rather the woman be at home with the children, if that's what they both like and that's what they're both happy with, fair enough. But if not, fair enough, okay? And it's not like you can exactly, as a woman, it's not like you can exactly learn from the manosphere because, some people might think wow, women should listen to what men want instead of just criticising the manosphere. And my argument there is if you listen to the manosphere, right, you listen to one channel where they're talking about how women being stay-at-home mums and looking after the children and keeping the house immaculate and cooking the husband's tea and making his sandwiches and all that. It's actually just a con because women want his money and his resources and want a parasite off of him. You'll hear that on one channel. And then on another channel, you'll hear about how women are wrong for not doing all those traditional things and that women who want to have a career, they're selfish and horrible. And that they're not caring about their men. Okay. And this is the same with everything they talk about. They talk about how women putting on makeup is hiding their real self and it's trying to manipulate men. And then on another channel you'll hear about how modern Western women are letting their self go and not making enough of an effort to look nice. Okay. I also find it interesting how some people get so angry at single women.
I'm 29 and single and I don't have kids yet. Here's what your Saturday morning looks like when you're single at 29 and you don't have a kid running around the house. I didn't rise from my bed until 10:15. Every time I thought, I should probably get up and do something. I thought, why? Nobody's making me. I'm not missing out on anything. I went to Beyonce last night and I didn't get home until 1 a.m. and I danced and drank my little heart out and I didn't pay a babysitter to watch my kids as I did that. And I woke up a tad hungover this morning, just probably why I was in bed for so long. And I was just scrolling on my phone and I saw a picture of shakshuka and I thought, it sounds really good. Maybe I'm gonna learn how to make shakshuka today. Because I have no plans and I don't have kids and I don't have a husband and I don't have errands to run. I can go to the grocery store and learn how to make shakshuka. So that's on my agenda today. Also on my agenda, probably a rewatch of some Real Housewives of New York. I'm also doing a rewatch of Normal People on Hulu, which is really spicy and I highly recommend. Weirdly, I'm into this documentary on Netflix about Blue Zone countries, so I've got a pretty stacked day. Anyway, I say all this to say, whenever I'm hard on myself about why I'm not married and I don't have kids and I should be further along at 29, almost 30, I wouldn't want to do anything else this Saturday. I know that you can do all these things when you have kids and you're married, and I understand, but the effortlessness and ease of my life, just kind of focusing on myself and the shakshuka I want to make, or the Beyonce
Release the hounds. The best part about not having kids is that you can just be a raging narcissist and do everything for yourself and only think about yourself.
Yeah. If you have a life that's easier than theirs, they hate you.
Yep.
If you don't have the same religion that they do, they hate you.
Yep.
If you don't have the same values that they do, they hate you.
Yep. It's got to the point that if you get up and you go, oh, I got up late and I decided to go and do a recipe.
If you have a lion.
Raging narcissist. You know, like, you're a terrible human being. You'll preach.
Well, that's it. It's look at the accusations they've thrown on her.
Yeah.
They've said that she's a loser with a terrible life.
Yep.
She must be lonely. She's a narcissist.
Yeah.
She's immoral.
Immoral. She's unhappy and depressed.
Look, all the things that they've thrown on this woman when they know nothing. Like I say, it's not just they know nothing about her.
No.
They know nothing in general.
They get so angry. Like, if a woman's single, whether it's by choice or not, like if a woman's single and she says she's happy, they get so angry and they're like, no, you're not allowed to be happy, or I hope that when you hit the wall you'll be miserable and have a load of cats, you know, that kind of attitude. Or then the other attitude is that if a woman's single and she's not happy about it, they sort of really love her misery and blame women for, like, you know, falling birth rates or less people getting married and all the problems in society, what that they think are problems, is blamed on women. Okay, but once again, the men going their own way community, they say they don't want to get married and have kids, and they don't get anger. The same people that get angry with single women don't get angry with them, okay?
Now, whenever I'm asked why I don't want children, which is quite rare, but Hannah, she gets asked all the damn time because, you know, she's a woman. That's the way it works with our culture. It's
societal expectations.
Yeah.
Like, there are people in the red pill community that tell other men, don't get married, don't have children, okay? And, like, the same people that get so angry at women if they're not married or if they don't want to have children, don't get angry at men over the same thing, even though, like, I've never heard a woman tell other women to not get married and not have children. Like, some women, you know, if a woman says she's happy being single or like she doesn't want to have children, there's a lot of hatred aimed at her, even though she's only talking about her own life. She's not telling other people not to get married or not to have children. But, like, guys in the red pill community openly tell other men, don't get married, don't have children. And the same people that get angry with the women, they don't get angry with the men, okay? Or they're always saying, like, feminism is trying to break up the family, it's trying to turn men and women against each other. And I kind of think, like, what do you think a lot of the red pill are doing? I mean, red pill tried to turn men against women. Fresh and Fit, the whatever podcast, they're always trying to turn men against women, but as a consequence, they're also going to turn women against men. The more people, like, see, like, the the more women that see the sort of genuine misogynistic views of, like, the extremist in the red pill, the more, like, some women are going to get a negative opinion of men, okay? Yet these guys will just sit there and say, like, oh, if men and women aren't having relationships, or if the birth rate is falling, this is all women and it's all feminism's fault, even though they're doing their absolute best to break up the family, okay? But anyway, that is just something I wanted to talk about. So yeah, like, people's choices, like, you know, if you're a fan of the traditional gender roles and you want a relationship like that, that's great. If you're not, fine. If you're a woman who's a stay-at-home mum, great. If you have a career, great. If you do want kids, good. If you don't, fine. You know, whether you're a man or a woman, you know, you should do whatever you want. And a lot of the red pillars, they have got no place lecturing women on what to do, because most of them can't even sort out their own lives. Okay, so that's all I've got to say about that for now. Thank you for listening.